Have you ever noticed when you watch the guide, when they talk about low elo, it's always like platinum or emerald and below, and it covers literally like 75% of the entire player base. And I feel like there's got to be a divide there. There's got to be. And this is why I'm going to give you my 2 cents. I'm going to give you a tier list for top lane, which is the lane I main, and what I think of the champs in low elo. I wouldn't advise you to take it as actual advice, put it that way. But this is just my opinion for someone who's been playing for 8-9 months, and I think that a lot of new players can still kind of get a grasp from what I'm going to say about certain champions that play in top lane. And I'm only going to cover the ones that I think are worth covering. I've seen some off-meta picks that have been annoying. I've seen some other picks like, obviously all the ADCs. Some people just play ADCs, but the main boys, the main boys and gals. And of course we're going to rate them S through D. D being, you definitely are trolling if you pick them. S being, they are really good 1 TP. But I think that one-trick pony status does definitely apply to the A's and some of the B's as well. So I'm going to start with my champs and where I would actually rate the champs I use. And I'm going to start with the one who I have the most player time on, Yorick. These ranks only really apply up to silver. He was really good, then he got reworked and it was a little bit different, more based on, boinking with his Q, and then just nerf after nerf after nerf. And I think the nerfs are massively unwarranted. I think the reason why it's got such a high win rate is ultimately because people in low elo are really bad laners and they don't know how to play into him, because there's so many champions that beat him. It is crazy how many champions actually beat him, but people just don't know how to lane, and then they just get stomped by someone who's actually quite weak in a 1v1 situation, especially if he hasn't got his maiden. Although I used him to climb from iron to bronze, he's in a different state now. I can't give him an S, but just purely for the fact that you can bully so many bad players who have no idea of how to play against them, because you can just play safe. You let the first wave of minions push towards your tower, and then you're basically doing well, and then you just play safe. You just play till you've got your 4 minions up and you just poke them down, and you save your W for either an all-in when they're on quite low health, because pre-level 6 and pre his first item, he is weak. I think when you get to level 7 or 8 and you get Trinity Force, even if it's an even lane, you should be pushing to get the lead at that point, because he is incredibly strong. I think he spikes really strong with his first item, but he just struggles into a lot of champions like Darius, Mordekaiser, Renekton. These champs really, really give him a hard time. Because of that, and let's not forget Irelia as well. And because of that, I think I'm going to put him in A, because as well his team fighting capacity is better than what it was, but it's still quite limited. And if you go against somebody who you might beat in lane like Sett, I beat Sett in lane all the time. He actually got a negative win rate versus Sett in low elo, but I don't really get how you just kind of play safe and then just all in them when you've got Trinity Force. Seems to work, but in team fights, Sett will beat you. So it's like you are nowhere near comparable in terms of your usefulness in a team fight situation with Yorick compared to one of the big boys or the juggernauts like Sett, like Mundo. So I think you can solo carry games on him by winning lane. If you don't win lane first, you're probably going to struggle to solo carry on Yorick. There's that preface that you kind of really need to be winning lane, or at least taking the tower before they take yours. And if not, then you're going to be behind. And Yorick is, most champions are rubbish behind. Tanks tend to be the best when they're playing from behind. Yorick's not a tank. He's not really a bruiser. He kind of is a bruiser, and then try to rework him to make him a bruiser. But yeah, I feel like he's got a weird identity at the moment. I think it's a real shame. But yeah, I'm going to give it an A. Okay, next we're going to go Dr. Mundo. I actually think Mundo is heavily, massively overrated in low elo. I think he struggles to win lane, and yes, he's got a lot of sustain, and I know the whole build of buying war mugs and buying a couple tier 2 items first so that you can get this constant regen on the go, and that's great, but the reality is you need like 5,000 gold to build that, so you're not going to have that until, like, if you're good, 8 to 10 minutes, but if you're losing lane, like 14 minutes, 13 minutes, and by that point, the game is like, you've already lost your lane at that point, and until then, he's not great. He's good in the tanks, he's good in a loads of champs. I feel like, there's nothing stopping a 5 or 6 item Mundo. It is ridiculous, but I just think there's a lot of champs that can just absolutely smash him at next week. Like Sett, Mordekaiser, Yorick beats him. There's loads of bruisers who can beat him. And it just depends. The problem with this whole tier list thing is, the problem with these sort of tier lists is that counter picks are so powerful in top lane. It is the most crushing lane for counter picks. And I think other laners don't actually get how hard it is, because it's a melee based lane. It's not just like mid lane where the parries are just bouncing spells off at each other. And in this tiny little lane, it's a massive lane where it's most of the champions, you have to be close together to actually fight. I think he's still a strong pick. Like, he's just, I think Yorick is better than him. I don't know. Yeah, I think Yorick is better than him. But I think he still is an A. So I need to find him first. So I'm going to put Mundo in the A category. Next, we're going to go Shen. Now, I think it's a hard one with Shen. I think he's an absolute giga chad. If you main Shen, you are just probably one of the kindest guys in the world, and you're just absolute legend. He's got a really good roaming tool, as you can imagine. His R is insanely good, and he can just turn fight. His taunt is amazing. But the only problem with low elo, like Iron and Bronze, is that, in Silver, is that, like, if your bot lane's 0-3 by 7 minutes, do you really want to ult over to that lane? Or do you just wait and just save it for Grubs or Dragon, I guess? I think he's only effective if his team aren't disgustingly bad. I don't think he's like a proper carry. I think, you know what, as long as you've got one competent player or two competent players, but the reality is they're not going to be competent. So I don't think Shen solo carries a game, but his utility is actually phenomenal. So I think I'm going to put him again in back in the A again. All right, Singed. I'm going to put Singed in C. He's got quite a high win rate, but he's a very unique champion. If you one trick him, fair enough, but you lose a lot when you pick Singed. Your team suffers a lot when you pick Singed because his playstyle is so different, and people don't know how to play around him at all. I mean, this has come from me, who's still, I don't know how to play around him. I mean, I get an idea, but people in this elo don't know how to play around him at all. So you'll just end up, trying to proxy, and proxying is difficult in low elo because you don't have enough game knowledge to time your proxies correctly. And when Singed can't proxy, he's dump. He's dump. Like, I've killed so many Singes. I've played against some insane ones, but Smurfs, etc. But I think when you're like Iron and Bronze, you don't want to be playing Singed. Like, for one, you spend your core early time of playing League playing it in a different way and not actually like learning the mechanics of top lane, because you're basically avoiding them with proxy and etc. Okay, Kayle, everyone loves her, blah blah blah. I'm gonna put her as an A because I think, yeah, you know what, when you're level 16, you are an absolute monster, but there's like this period where, you know what, you've got a strong level 1, but then up to level 2 to 5, you're gonna struggle, and I think you've got to understand more about the game to play Kayle than to play like Yorick or Mundo. I think you've just got to have good knowledge of lane management to play Kayle, because she is going to have this difficult period, really like 2 till 10, where she is going to struggle. And I think it's not going too far behind, because even in Bronze, people know how to punish you and they'll just take the tower while you're under it. And that's what I would do if I'm ever going against the Kayle. Plus Nasus destroys you, so you've got to ban Nasus, but then there's also other champions that you'll struggle into, like Mordekaiser. Like, you will struggle into these other champions, but on top of that, Nasus counters you so hard that you have to counter him. You have to ban Nasus because he counters you so hard. It's a difficult one, because I think with top lane is, you know what, you're probably going to win 40% of your games by playing top lane anyway, because you'll have the bot lane, which will decide probably the outcome of the game in the first 10-12 minutes in Iron and Bronze. And she is a great character and she's fun to play, and when you do get level 16, she's an absolute beast. But also, if you play the lane, so I've played her a little bit and I found that, so I haven't one-tricked her, I've played probably 50 games, 30 games probably with her, is that if you get behind early, you then are like a level behind your top laner. You then have to spend more time CSing to get to level 16 than you can impact the game. So you have to decide, do I want to impact the game at level 14? I'm nowhere near as strong, or do I want to kind of sidle in more, CS in the jungles, and just try my best to get level 16? And that can take 5-6 minutes of like time throughout the mid game to do that extra. And I think your team suffers when you lose lane, and then you have to then try and CS to catch up to get level 16 to actually be able to make an impact. Your team just continues to suffer like throughout. So it's like, it is like, she's just not great from behind, and that's one of the things. Okay, a couple of these I'm going to go over really quickly. Irelia, D. Whereas Yasuo, D. So Irelia and Yone are D rank for Iron and Bronze. Unless you're a Smurf, the reality is, if you're in these ranks, you do not have the mechanical skill to play them. So you're basically going to int your first 100 to 200 games playing them, and you might, you won't lose 200 games because, you go against absolute morons all the time who will lose lane to you. But the reality is they're so mechanically demanding that you will struggle and you will just throw games. It's just not worth playing these really difficult characters in, like, when you're in very low elo. And that applies the same, and that's exactly the same for Riven as well, actually. You don't have enough game knowledge to learn them when you're starting out really low. When you're like, when you're eyeing at silver, you're just better off playing simpler champions. Which brings me on to my first S pick. Where is he? The absolute monster giga chad. First S pick is Garen. Garen is just such a good champion. His R is so good, and you know what, he does actually struggle early. I've been playing quite a lot of him recently, and he's I've been having some amazing games with him because just how simple he is. Like, you know that essentially with Ignite, you're basically going to just queue them until they're on 3/4 health, and then you just E them, ignite them, and then R them, and then you've pretty much won. You've killed them in lane. That happens, and that applies to a lot of laners, and that's kind of how you can just play your lane. You let the wave push towards your tower. You don't lose CS. When you get level 6, level 7, you get your stride breaker, you can just R them and then push from there. He is difficult in team fights. He's not difficult, he's just not like really easy to pilot because he's not quite a tank unless you build him full tank, but then you sacrifice a lot of damage and movement speed, and he struggles with kiting, but he's just generally a great way to learn the game. And yeah, you know what, someone says he's a little boring, he's actually so funny. He's like so simple that when you just ignite and R someone, you just feel like just being like going like Demacia. You just feel, if you feel like you lose IQ when you actually pull off an ignite E and R, but it is also very funny that you can just do that, and then you can tell people are getting so tilted with it as well because they're trying their best to push you down lane, and then you just literally just do that, and it's just hilarious. He's a great character to one trick. Okay, so these are going to be a little bit controversial, but I'm actually going to give Heimerdinger an S as well. So the thing about Heimerdinger is, although I have said previously, you don't learn how to play the game properly when you play these type of champions. Heimerdinger has such a strong laning phase. You bully pretty much like 90 to 95% of all champions in the game in lane because of your turrets, that you can kind of win games. For one, you're really difficult to gank from the jungle because you've got so many stuns, especially when you get Zhonya's like second or third item. Like it's such a good item on him. Leandri's, I like Riley's Scepter as well with the slow. Zhonya's, like, these make like a hilariously difficult situation to play into, and I just think that you win a lot of games easily is the truth. People don't know how to play it in Heimerdinger in low elo. Generally, if you pick up Heimerdinger and you're in low elo and you play 5 games in normal and you go into ranked, you're probably going to have a 50% win rate because people do not know how to play it in them. Generally, probably about 40 to 50% of people don't know how to play it in Heimerdinger in this low elo, so you will probably just get loads of kills. The only issue is it's harder to push a lead with than, say, Yorick or Mundo, who can split push, but Heimerdinger, you're really powerful in team fights as well, so you can kind of win your lane, help take all the T1 turrets, and then just help with objectives, get a couple of kills, and people really target you as well. That's what I've noticed with Heimerdinger. They really want to kill you in team fights, which is why Zhonya is so good on you, because you literally dump your R, your mega turret, or your turret, hit R. With Leandri's, etc., like, you're literally, one person's losing, it doesn't matter who they are, how much health they've got, they've lost half the health in those 2 seconds that you've got Zhonya's on. So, like, he is good. It's just learning when and how to push and when not to push. I think you've got to be more cautious pushing past the halfway point in the map with Heimerdinger than other champions, other bruisers, but you win lane so hard with them that you can just get pushed into such a good position and you can really just take it from there. It's like you will win lane most of the time and you can learn to play from an advantage. You do, however, you're not gaining as much game knowledge as if you were to play, say, Garen, but it depends what you want, right? If you want to just like try and understand map awareness and win games because you're frustrated and you want to get out of the elo, I just find them get a bit bored of them, to be honest. Mid laners can beat you in lane, but the traditional tanks are going to really struggle. Even like Malphite, like you might be able to burst you once or twice, but you're going to probably kill him a couple times before that. Next is Tryndamere, and I'm going to put Tryndamere in C. I love Tryndamere. He's a fantastic character. He hasn't really been changed much since he came out in like 2010. The problem is he's just so weak to CC. That's a problem. It's really subjective. I actually played a game and I didn't realise that my entire team had no CC and I was against the Tryndamere. I was like, oh, this is a magic game for Tryndamere. I wish this was me. Because you just find that if you build all damage, you literally get one shot by the mages in the mid game. Like, but if you just build your first 3 items with no tankiness at all, like, yeah, you can be invincible, but a Mel will just stun you and then everyone will just kill you. And we're really CC heavy. The game is CC heavy at the moment, a lot. His R only helps in a 1v1. If you're not in a 1v1, it doesn't help that at all because you'll just CC out of control and you just die. Like, every time I play him, I feel like the lane is so hard to win compared to if I just played Sett or Yorick or Garen. I'm sitting there going like, this guy's not even good and I'm really struggling. It's probably a me thing as well, of course, you know, but he's kind of like a Yasuo and Irelia, where they're just kind of melee ADCs. You get punished really hard on them, and I think Tryndamere is one that I wouldn't recommend to learn early because if you enjoy the champs, ultimately, if you enjoy the champ, you play them, but you're going to struggle to win a lot of games with Tryndamere. He's got a lot of weaknesses and a lot of champs just destroy him really hard. DP applies to the other 3. He's just really mechanically demanding. His barrels are really difficult. They seem simple enough because I remember he was one of my first champions. I was like, I want to give him a go because he's cool. And then it's just the placement and the timing of them in team fights. You know, in lane it's okay, you can manage it, but in team fights where, you know, you can literally one-shot mages and stuff. If you get it right, he does struggle. And yeah, he's got a CC break, but he doesn't have any sort of escape. So you just get blown up. Like, he's really difficult to learn. And I just think, you know, if you're in low elo, which is silver or lower, you know, you've basically got a lot to learn before you play characters like Gangplank. Okay, Gwen. I'm going to put Gwen as a B. She's kind of like Kayle in the sense that she is insanely strong late game. She scales so hard, but she's had quite a few nerfs recently. And, you know, I don't really struggle into Gwen's, to be honest. And I've played her a bit of her, and every time I play her, I just have a hard lane. You know, Sett's, Mundo's, Tom Kench's, Volley Bears, these are all hard lanes early, and it's like trying to get through it, but it just makes it unenjoyable. Like, when you're playing a champ, you know, who's got a lot of attack speed and a lot of damage, and you literally spend the first 12 minutes having to play so safe because you literally just can't quite care about a win. You know, this is, my opinion on Gwen is coming from someone who's played 20, 25 games, but I've played against her 50, 60, 70 times, and most of the times I beat her. I beat her in lanes, reality, especially if you're playing Garen. It's like a free lane with Garen. And, you know, she's one of the champions I struggle a little bit with Yorick when you're against a good Gwen player, because you underestimate her damage. Her damage with her Q and her R is insane, and she's really fun to play. She's got great split push. I think all the characters in the B are higher. You could just one trick and just, you know, probably get all the way up to like Emerald, probably, if you just did them. But she's just got a little bit more to her, I would say. And I think right now she's not in a great space, especially when there's a lot of strong bruisers at the moment. And that brings us on to the most bruiser, who's not even a bruiser, the Juggernaut. Sett is an S. Sett is insanely good. He's like one of my first champions I played on Wild Rift, and then over to this. He is so strong. His early game is insanely powerful, and then he just continues to get stronger as the game goes on. He does need items, and the only thing I think with Sett which really bugs us is I feel like there's a bug in him where you get CC'd and you can't activate your W when your CC ends. I don't know if anyone else has noticed that, but I find that I'll get CC'd, you see, and then as soon as it wears off, I'm literally spamming the W as fast as I can, and then it just wears off and takes like half a second to a second to actually then activate, which gets you killed all the time. The only thing with Sett is he doesn't have an escape, and this can be difficult in like Iron and Bronze because you'll try and go in for team fights and nobody will follow you and nobody will help you and you will die. Sett players actually die quite a lot, and I think that's the whole thing. That Sett's all about going in. There's no escape. He's going in, and either he's being defeated or someone else has been defeated, and it's kind of like the mentality. You've kind of just still got to be a bit careful with your team fights, because the reality is when you've got 3 items or 4 items, your W is going to kill. You know, you can wipe out a whole team. Like quadra kills galore. Pentakills maybe. I still haven't got a pentakill on him, but I've got loads of quadra kills with them. But that sort of hubris, you still kind of need 2 people with you really to kind of help clean up and distract more than anything. But that's definitely a skill issue on my end. I think he's really fun to play. His W is like One Punch Man. His R is amazing. He's a great character, great personality. He's one of the best characters in the game, I would say. And he is fun to learn, and he is just a beast, and he is a monster. Yeah, the only issue is with him really is I feel like he is quite slow, and I think his passive is pretty naff. There's 2 parts to it. He gives his second attack more damage. That's great. It's his health regen. It seems like it's not really a passive because it's like you get double base or triple base, but like the base health regen is so low that like, yeah, it helps a little bit. But if you compare it to Garen, like, you know, Garen level 5, Sett level 5, you know, in 20 seconds, Garen's full health. In 20 seconds, Sett will have an extra 10%, maybe an extra 30% of his health, if that. And it just sort of, I think it's almost like his passive is good level 1, 2, and 3, and then his passive actually just completely drops off. Whereas everyone else's passives just stay throughout the whole game, whereas he just does basically by level 6 doesn't have a passive. And that's kind of what I don't like about it. And, you know, if it was like Garen's, you'd be completely broken, don't get me wrong, but maybe there should be something in it, like just to make, you know what, just make it scale a bit better. Just scale a little bit better, like, so that, you know what, he can drop off at level 10 instead of level 5. Like, it would just help you win a bit more. He has just had nerf to his armor growth, so he will die faster, but he seems to still be winning quite a lot. Alright, Darius. I think Darius is a absolute giga chad, but the thing about Darius is he's kind of this champion. He's very feed or famine, you know. You've got to learn to play Darius in a certain way. Darius is a B because he's got a really strong early game. He's actually got quite a mid game. You know, you can't just walk into a team of 5 even with his Q up. But the thing with Darius is you've got to be aggressive. You've got to play the game aggressive. And if you don't play the game aggressive, then you will probably struggle in the mid game. And I literally played someone the other day and they were playing the most passive Darius I've ever played. And I was like, dude, what are you doing? I was playing Garen. I was like, there's no way I should be able to get I shouldn't be out CSing you. Like, what are you doing? And as soon as I was level 6, I just killed him straight away. And I was like, you should have been pressuring me and trying to catch me out in bushes, trying to freeze a lane. Good Darius players will freeze a lane all the time. Bad Darius players will not. That's ultimately the difference. And, you know, you've got to kind of learn Darius. But I think just understand his play style takes a bit to get your head around. And then when you do, you're like, yeah, you know, you're going to wreck everybody because he is insane. And it's like so good when you play Darius and you get their jungler ganks and you just kill them both. It's amazing. And like, usually you would run away, and I found that when I play Darius, like, you know, me and the enemy laner, they're on 2/3 health, I'm on half health, and the enemy jungler gangsters, I would normally run away, but I don't now. I'm like, I'm gonna run in that bush, I'm going to pull them in and I'm going to just queue them both and I'm basically got more health from them. You've got to play Darius aggressive. You've got to be an absolute Giga Chad and just play him aggressive. Renekton, I'm going to put Renekton in B as well. He is really good. He's really good actually. He's such a lane bully. He's just got quite a weak level 1 and 2, but when he gets going, he's the champion that kind of put me off Yorick, because there was this time, and you know, whatever about the matchmaking, we'll get into it, but I ended up playing 4 Renektons in about the span of 8 games, and I hadn't played Renekton in about 80 games. I didn't realise, because I hadn't played against Renekton really in a while with Yorick, how bad Yorick is into Renekton. You literally cannot play the game in Renekton. I think he's a really good counter into a lot of champions that are quite meta, like Yorick, Mundo. I mean, he's not countering a Mundo, but you beat Mundo. Like, you'd have to be really bad or be ganked a lot or make a lot of mistakes to be losing lane to a Mundo as Renekton. Renekton's so strong. The only thing is he does kind of drop off, and like you kind of need to build AD items on him because you need the heal from your Q, but then it's kind of like, what do you want to do? He can't really be a tank. He's just like an absolute bruiser. Great in the side lanes, great 1v1s. I've beaten so many champs who have been like more fed than me playing Renekton, and he's really fun. He's got some great skins, but I just feel like he's just not quite as impactful on the map as the people above him. I feel like he's just got a lot of situational matchups. He just struggles in a lot of matchups, I would have said. Especially like all these, I mean, all of them in A, I would say all the champions, actually most champions struggle into ranged champs, but like Renekton's got quite a few counters, like Rita struggle into like Warwick, like Teemo, Heimerdinger. Like, there's a lot of champs who will beat him. And I think Kayn is another one as well. There's a lot of them. All right, quickly, I'm going to put Rumble in B. I've played against some good Rumbles. I think he's really good at tanks, especially just in mobile champs. He's not good at Sett, but, you know, like Sion, Nasus, you can kind of bully them so hard in lane. Same with, like, squishier champs. He's not amazing at range, but he can beat range as well. Like, it just depends on how you play him, but I think he's okay, and he's a unique play style, and he's a lane bully. I think people underestimate how much of a lane bully he actually is. Yone, I'm going to put Yone in B as well, and the reason for that is Yone is not hard to play, right? I know he's Yone Yasuo. Yone is not hard to play. In reality he's actually really easy to play. But in top lane, he loses lane to a lot of champs. Sett, Garen, Darius, Renekton. He can get beat by Teemo, there's loads, Pantheon, you can get beat by loads of them, but the thing is, Yone scales so hard. Most Yone players that are playing top lane are massive bitches. They're massive cowards. They try and kill you level 2, and if they can't kill you level 2, they just stand in the tower. That is generally my experience of playing Yones in top lane. But the thing is, they will scale so hard if you let them. When they get 3 items, they're probably going to beat you with 3 items, because just how strong they are. So although he can have a really bad early game, and he has a ridiculously amount of matchups that will destroy him, late game he probably will win. It just depends how hard you int, you know, how hard you win lane. That's why a lot of them stand in the tower, because essentially they're not going to lose lane as fast as if they try to actually kill us, because they probably know they couldn't defeat me in a 1v1. Akali, see, you're trolling if you play Akali top lane, let's be honest. You're just trying to really cheese it, because you've got no you've got no pressure, you've got no split push capacity at all, so you're just basically just trying to get a few kills and then roaming around and hoping that you can be good enough. She's not, I think she's one of those champs that everyone thinks she's really hard to play. I don't think she is at all, but I just think you're a bit of a butt if you play Akali top, to be honest. Kayn, as much as I tried Kayn top lane. He's really fun. I just think you're trolling. Low elo, I think you are trolling. Like, you know what, when you get red form, you're going to win in the side lanes, especially against like tanks like Mundo and stuff. You're going to destroy them. But the reality is you've kind of got to proxy, and proxying low elo, it's difficult. It's difficult. You don't, because players lack the understanding to do it and when to do it. And you've got to play very differently. But he is fun when you get going. But I think, you know, you're probably trolling, let's be honest. All right, Malphite, I'm going to put him C. The reality is about Malphite top lane is he's a good counter to a lot of champs. And it's really hard. The thing about Malphite is it's hard to win lane. It's hard to lose lane as well, though. You're kind of like the most neutral champion in the game. So then you're kind of relying on your ability to push the map elsewhere once the game breaks in the mid-game and the lane phase is over. And that comes down to your macro, really. And if you got bad macro, then you're probably just going to be, you know, not that much help later on in the game either. He is an easy champ to play, though. And actually, no, I take it back. I'm moving him to B. Take it back. Because I think he's an easy champ to play, and like, for example, you won't lose lane playing Malphite, so you kind of can just build full-on tank, not lose lane, and just hope that, you know, that your teammates can carry, then you can help them in the mid-game. So I'm going to give him a B for that. And he is quite funny. He's kind of like Garen dumb. You kind of feel like you're dumb. You feel like you get dumber when you play him. That's definitely them two boys. Jayce, I'm going to give him a C because he's difficult to play, and also the fact that he's just not a good blind pick. You know, you're trolling if you blind pick Jayce, to be honest, and because he's just going to get destroyed, like, by so many champions. Just so many. And you know what? Yeah, he just kind of, you know, what is he? What even is Jayce? He's a ranged poke champ with one powerful ability, and then he's an all-in kind of assassin. He has not really that many escapes. He has a few peels, but nah, I think he's too hard to learn at low elo. Zac is kind of the same as Malphite. Like, it's hard for you to lose lane. There's a few champs that will destroy you utterly, like Mordekaiser. You need to build the turret smasher. I forgot the name of the rune. Wow, I'm literally having a mind blank. You need to build or demolish. You need to build demolish with Zac because his base AD is so low that you can barely take a plate in like 30 seconds until you get like 2 items or like level 10 or 12. So you need to build, I would say personally, you need to build demolish. You probably want to go grasp anyway. I made the mistake when I first started playing Zac of always playing it using Conqueror, and I think that is just a foolish idea. You kind of want to have the resolve trees in main one, especially for the increase in healing as well, because his passive is so strong. And you know, you get kind of like revived for the whole, you get 6 minutes on your passive where you come back to life, which is a really good ability. And Zac, this is a really good champion, really fun. And he does all right in a lot of range champs. You just kind of got to know how to play him and when to go in, because you can kind of heal it all back up anyway. So he's not bad. He's not bad. Sion, I'm going to give Sion an A. I think his split push potential is insane. His Qs is monstrous, like, and he's a really good tank. He's probably my favourite tank, I would have said. I don't play much of him. Well, no, Zac's probably my favourite tank, actually. But I think he's more fun to play than... Well, actually, Mundo is funny to play. But I think Sion probably takes more skill. He does take more skill to play than Mundo, but because of his passive as well, where he constantly gains health and health, like, you kind of can't build him like, you know, how everyone builds Mundo, like AD and health. You are better off building Sion like more tanky, but he has got a lot of base health, so you kind of do want to build some sort of ages. You do want to build like Sunfire ages, but it's not a bad idea to build AD that stacks with your health as well. But he's quite good. His R's great. His Q's is fantastic, and the fact he's passive when he dies is great for taking towers. It's great for taking towers. And it means you can get CS once you've died in lane as well. All in all, pretty all-round great champ. Jax, I'm going to put Jax as an A, because if he had sustain, he'd be the best champion in the game. He scales incredibly well. All of his abilities are amazing. You do need a little bit of knowledge around wards to play him, because you kind of want to have a control ward on you at all times, because you're going to need it to escape with your Q. But he scales really hard. You've got to just play a bit safer, and a lot of time I play against Jax who kind of don't lane. They'll just kind of wait to level 6, and then they just all of a sudden just go in on you and destroy you, and then you kind of like, shit, damn. So yeah, and his ultimate, his R is really good for team fights. He's not like great at team fights, but his R is great. He's great split pusher, just all in all fantastic champ. Do I put him as S? He's such a good blind pick. No, I'm going to keep him as A. Kled, I'm going to put Kled in. Okay, I'm actually not going to do Kled actually, because I don't know enough about him. All right, Warwick is our next S. Warwick is insane in lane. It's ridiculous, actually, how good he is in lane. The only issue with Warwick is I have literally played games top lane Warwick where I've went 12 minutes, I'm like 5-0, I've roamed to mid and 6-0 and I've taken turrets, he just drops off so hard it's not even funny. Like, I've never played a champion like Warwick. When everyone's got 4 items, you might as well have no items because you get just destroyed so hard in team fights. And his split pushing potential is pretty mid because of he's just quite a low base attack damage. But if you can kill someone when the 3rd waves crash and they lose their siege cannon, you pretty much won lane. I mean, that applies to most of them, but with Warwick, because of his strength, he's so strong. I think the mistake people make with Warwick is they just run away, when the reality is you don't run anywhere, you keep fighting because you keep getting health back. So I think understand that as well, as you play aggressive, but also I've played against some insane Warwicks who will just freeze a wave. I've probably beaten a bigger variety of champs with Warwick than any other champion, because, like, for example, when I play Yorick, I struggle into Mordekaiser and I struggle into Darius and Renekton, whereas Warwick, I don't think I've struggled into a champion in lane. Which then brings me on to Trundle, and I think Trundle is an S. He's just a dumb basic character, kind of like Garen. He's not as strong as people think early in lane, so I think a lot of people, like, you know, and he's in the jungle meta at the moment, he is clapping, he is cleaning house in the jungle. Trundle has a really strong level 1. I think it's the strongest in the game, maybe Olaf's is stronger, but after level 1, he's not the strongest anymore. So I think it's just gauging that, and I think he's a good champion because he's basic attacks, that's basically all he is. And I think you can go 0-5 in lane and still take towers and win the game for your team. I think that's the difference between Trundle and, like, say, Warwick. Whereas Warwick, you can snowball your lead, but if the rest of your team's inting and then there's a fed mid lane or a fed ADC, then it doesn't matter, you're dead. Whereas Trundle, nah, you can feed into your lane and still smash the game. Gnar is a D from me. I generally think if you play Gnar in low elo, it's because you don't know how the game works, because he's literally just a poke champ who can do nothing more until he gets his R up, and then when he gets his passive up, becomes Mega Gnar. He's fun, but he's very team reliant. That's why they use him in pro play, but they don't really use him in solo queue, because he's team reliant, because you need people to play around you. I just think he's a dumb champ, to be honest. I think he's not even well designed, actually. I was going to say he's well designed. He's not well designed. His passive is amazing. His moves are amazing. His abilities are amazing, but the design around it, I think it's lackluster, to be honest. And I think that's why he suffers in solo queue. I think the difference is there's a lot of champs who struggle to win lane, a lot of champs who have an easier time winning lane, and in solo queue, low elo, you've got to win lane to win your game. You know, you can bring it around if you know, but people will just drop their heads. People just tilt after 20 minutes if, you know, it's 2-10. Every other lane's went 0-5. Chances are you're probably not going to win anyway, but so you kind of need to be winning lane to help your morale of your team and also to push your lead. Pantheon's a hard one. I love him. I know he just had a nerf, but I think Pantheon's an S. I think he's got a really strong, he has got an incredibly strong laning phase. He bullies so many champs. The only issue is it is his lack of sustain, and he is quite mana hungry, but as long as you bring presence of mind, you know, you don't struggle that much. I think he destroys a lot of laners, and his R is really good for roaming. So, like, what I like to do with Pantheon is I do take teleport, actually. I take teleport and flash. When I'm once at level 6, I'll go recall. I'll try and build my first or second recall around level 6 or 7, just so I can R bot lane. Get a bit closer to bot lane, R them straight away, try and get a kill. You usually do get a kill, and then you just TP straight up to your lane, and you've lost no CS, and you've got a kill, and you've also helped another lane. And that's the difference between, like, Shen in Pantheon, is because, like, Pantheon can get a kill when he gets there, whereas Shen is not as strong as Pantheon, I would have said. Shen's kind of like, he sets up the team for the kills very well, whereas Pantheon can jump in by himself and get the kill, is what I'd say. Alright, Cho'gath. I'm going to give Cho'gath an A. He's a little bit hard to play early, but he scales so goddamn hard, especially with the fact that top lane's next to the grubs. You know, you get a free R every time. You get a free stack by just going over and helping your jungler. He's strong, and he scales insanely strong. He's just got a bit of a weak early game, and some champs like Sett will punish you because Sett will just R you into your entire team and kill you. So I think you've kind of got to ban Sett probably, but also he has a hard time with a lot of people. But I think Sett's probably the hardest, just for the fact that even if you win lane, you might lose the game because he just R's you into your entire team and you'll die. Urgot, I think Urgot's an S as well. I think Urgot is a really good champion. I think, you know what, he's strong really early, 1 to 3. He's a little bit weak until he gets level 9. When he gets level 9, he's an absolute monster. He's insane. His R is insane. His whole kit is incredible. I think he's a really, really well built, powerful champ, and he's not particularly hard champ to pilot, I don't think. I actually think Teemo is an S, as much as I hate the champion. Most people who play Teemo in low elo don't know how the game works, don't know how to play the game, and don't really want to learn to play the game, and they are trolling. They just basically want an easy time, and they just want to poke you down because it's easy for them. But the reality is Teemo actually is an incredible laner, and his map control with his mushrooms is insane. And I think there's a difference between a good Teemo and just someone who just basically died once in lane playing Garen when they were Iron and now they only play Teemo, because most people who play Teemo don't know how the game works. They don't know how to manage waves. Like, most Teemos will just push it under your tower constantly. A good Teemo will not do that, obviously. And I think a good Teemo is really, really difficult playing to, unless you're playing like Yorick. Yorick just destroys Teemo. Garen, I played against quite a few Teemos with Garen now, and I think you beat him late game, but it just depends on the Teemo. Like, it depends on how they play. Obviously, you know, Ignite, ER, defeats a lot of squishy champs. So Teemo, he's got a more easy matchups than hard matchups, I would have said. There's only probably like 5 or 6 actual top laners who give him a hard time. And he can just be a massive pest and a great split pusher and a great for dragons, elders, baron, like just putting your eye around the map and just putting it at choke points and just seeing people burn to death it's very funny. I get that. Okay, Ornn. I think Ornn's an A. I think Ornn has got a really strong laning phase. I think he's a really good champ all around. But he ain't winning the game. That's the thing about Ornn. He ain't gonna carry with Ornn really. If everyone's equal skill, that is, you know, this is applying if everyone's equal-ish skill. You're very reliant on your team with Ornn, I would say. Like, in fact, because of that, I'm going to put him as B. I feel like he is very team reliant, just like Shen. Actually, no, because I give Shen an A, I'm still going to give him an A. All right, we've got a couple left. I don't want to go all of them. I think Nasus is a B. He's better. I generally think he's better in jungle. Because he's so weak early that you struggle to stack. You do struggle to get your stacks, and you know, like the likes of, I didn't realize, but you literally cannot beat Darius at any point in the game. I didn't realize this. He's got a few hard matchups. You know, he's not. Teemo is one where if you don't get tilted and your team doesn't int, you know, you will beat him in the late game with 2 or 3 items, but you need to survive the lane, which is really difficult because you just poke you and make you miss CS and all sorts. He's a good champ. I just find that you just don't get the results with him as if you played other laners. You'll have 500 stacks, you'll have 3-4 items, you feel like a monster. You know, with Sundered Sky, you're doing 1200, 1400 damage with a 1 Q. And you're still dying in team fights. You can only manage to pull off 2 of your Qs, get 1 kill before you're dead. He is quite a fun champ. I like stacking champs because I feel like even if the game is into you can be like, oh well, I'm gonna just get some stacks, see how many I can get. Okay, I think Smolder he's a good counter pick into some, but I also think you're trolling if you main him. Alawi, I think Alawi's a, I don't know, I played into some really bad Alawis lately. I think she's an A. I think she bullies people hard, and I think the thing about Alawi is she's kind of like she's kind of like Yorick in a sense that people don't really know how to play into Yorick because he plays so differently. It's the same with Alawi. I think a lot of low elo players don't know how to play into Alawi and then they suffer for it. But realistically, you just dodge a read and all in her. As long as you dodge that a grab, you know, you can't all in her with that if she's got her R up. But, you know, like I played against Garen. I didn't realize Garen smashed her so hard. I literally just dodged her E, ignited her and ate her, and then she did her R and ran away. And then literally waited 20 seconds and I went in order. Like, it just depends. She's a really good champ. And I think because people don't know how to play into her, you will do quite well. Like, especially in like Sett and stuff. But I think, you know, there's champs that will beat you. But all in all, I would say you can probably get out of Silver just purely for the fact that most players don't know how to play into Alawi. Actually, I'm going to give her an S. I'm going to move her up just purely for the fact people don't know how to play into her. I think Aatrox is a, I don't know, I think Aatrox is a B. I think he's pretty good. But also, I feel like most champs just outscale him so hard. I think he's got like, he hasn't got a strong early phase, but then he's got quite a strong like level 4 to 8. And then I feel like even with like a 1,500 gold lead, I've still killed him in loads and I've seen him die. He's not a great juggernaut and stuff. Like, I think he's not a juggernaut, he's a bruiser. I just feel like he's not a good tank for the team. There's better tanks and there's better damage champs. So I feel like he's kind of a bit of both and like, just feel like he's not good at either of them. Not particularly great at either of them. All the Bs above it, they're still like incredibly good. They're all good champs. It's just, I don't know, I think Aatrox is another one where it just feels a little bit harder to win the game than if you're playing, say, like Urgot. So this is someone I've actually been playing. This is off meta. Lilia's an A in top lane. People don't know how to play in this meta of massive amount of tanks. You've got so much movement speed. You can kite so hard. People try and fight you and they just fail. It's a bit situational. Some people beat you really hard, but second counter pick, she's excellent. Any other off meta picks I've been playing? I've been trying Shyvana. Wouldn't recommend her, but I think she's better than Gnar and Smolder. No, actually not. Silas, I reckon Silas is I reckon he's an A, you know. I think Silas is an A. I think Silas isn't difficult to play, and I think you can just all in so strong with him. People underestimate his damage, really underestimate his damage. Oh, Fiora, I think Fiora is an A as well. I think she's really strong. It just depends who you're against, really. I think that's the situation with most champs, of course, as well. I think Poppy's a C. Poppy's base damage is disgusting. It's generally, it shouldn't be allowed to do that much damage, but you just drop off. She drops off so hard. I actually went against a Poppy and I was like, you must be smurfing, you're so good. She built Hubris first. And I was like, oh, I'm so screwed here. So 4 items when I was playing Garen, like, I think I was probably like 3, 8, 5. Actually, I killed her so she couldn't retreat, so that she couldn't help her team. and it was the team were in a 2v3 and our team killed them all and I killed her, so I actually won the game for that. I was like, she literally couldn't even 1v1 a Garen who she'd been beaten all game. And that just says all kind of like, yeah, strong early game, but even with hubris and like 10 kills, you still couldn't kill a Garen. Oh, Nocturne, I think Nocturne's another A as well. I think Nocturne is a great fun top laner. He's off meta, but he's really good. I'm going to quickly go over a couple of these because I feel like I just don't really have time because this video is going on. I think Volibear is a B. I think he is pretty strong early, but he's just lack of movement speed. I think he's just quite easy to gank and catch out. And it's hard to manage the wave with Volibear because of his passive. It's difficult, which means that you're always kind of overextending with him, which means you can be punished a bit more by the junglers if they've got a sense. Shaco, I think Shaco's a D. I think you're not, although he might be funny, I think you're a bit of a troll if you main him top lane. Oh, Mordekaiser is a hard S. Of course he is. I think Mordekaiser is the best top laner in the game, and I can't believe I've left him till this point. I think Mordekaiser has one of the easiest laning phases in the entire game. I think it is too easy to play Mordekaiser. I generally think his kit is too easy. My experience playing Mordekaiser was smashing lanes so hard it wasn't even funny. I wasn't even trying, but then getting the mid game and getting kited and dying. Or using your R thinking that you're really helping your team out by, trapping their tank or trapping their ADC and getting a kill, then realizing your whole team just died and then there's 4 of them waiting to kill you. But I think he is the game on easy, to be honest. I think Mordekaiser. I think he really is strong and there's so many people. I think Olaf is a B. I think he's quite hard to use. So I think because of that, I think he takes a lot of practice. He is a fun champ and he's cool, and Brolaf's the best skin in the game. But I think he's harder than, say, Garen, Mordekaiser, Sett, Heimerdinger, Trundle to play. And if you get behind, you just get destroyed. Tahm Kench is... I don't like Tahm Kench as a champion, I'm going to be honest. I think most Tahm Kenches I play, they'll try and kill you early, level 1 or 2, realize they can't kill you, then they'll just not say yes. They'll just stand in the tower. They'll not say yes, right? So they'll literally, you have to choose between, basically, they'll not freeze at the tower. They'll not even push. They'll just literally, they'll CS when it's at that tower, then if it keeps going, they'll just leave it and then get it come back again just so they can R you under tower. And it's such a cheese, spitting you in the tower, and I hate it. But it is kind of funny, to be fair, but I just think, you ain't carrying a game with Tahm Kench. That's the thing you want. You might be able to not lose lane, or might be able to win lane. He's a strong champ. You just can't really... I don't think you've got much split push potential, etc. I think Vayne is a D because I think realistically, if you are trying to play Vayne and you're low elo and you're playing a top lane, it's probably because you're not good enough to play her in ADC and you probably aren't good enough to play her in top lane. If you can't win games with Vayne in bot lane, you cannot win games with Vayne in top lane because you sacrifice a tank for the game, and you know what? Yeah, maybe in Iron you might be able to get a few cheaty kills and cheat some people, but in Bronze people will smash it next week if you play Vayne. People know how to play her. She's hard to play and she's so weak early and she does so little damage to lane to minions that she struggles to have any sort of lane control. So you kind of can't just freeze at your tower and hope you get ganked. She's just a cheese, to be honest. I think you are cheesing the game if you play her top lane. And on that, I think that's enough champs I want to talk about. That is kind of my opinion on Iron to Silver champs that I've played and I played against. What are your thoughts? Let me know. Am I completely an idiot? I know I am, but let me know if you think that this is accurate or completely inaccurate.